Hello again everybody and welcome to another Beyond All Reason video. Today we have a 1v1 on the map Tundra. And our contestants today are Mr. Modulo playing as Armada today in blue. And their opponent is Jammers. I'm guessing it's Jammers. Playing Cortex in red today. Now this map I haven't seen it in a very long time, to be honest with you, and it's quite an interesting one, as we can see on the. I'll just kind of zoom in here. Really look on the minimap here. You can see there's several kind of lanes, and it can be played in a kind of technically 4v4 map, but you do see it often in small teams, but also in single player. Now, we can see Modulo has positioned himself here with a double mechs with an additional metal extractor he can get here, but started off with 2. And Jammers has actually done the exact same here. Now, the reason for that is bots are perfectly fine to start on 2. With the expansion over to the extra metal extractors with your cons that come out, Jammers doesn't have any form of early scouting that he can do here, being Cortex, so is deciding to try and expand as quick as possible. This map being relatively large, it does take a while for the scouts, the ticks of Modulo, to come out. Now Modulo not doing too great with metal and energy wise here. You can see that he built some solars and that ate into the metal he had to begin with, but Jammer's now gone really greedy, going for 3 constructors before actually building any combat unit, and this is costing them now, as this tick is free to just kind of go around and shoot anything. And if it would have been microed better, it would have been able to go round to this and delay that even more. Could have then also gone around here and hugged kind of these windmills, and Jammers would have been in trouble. But now that Jammers has grunts up, it's going to be a bit harder for Modulo to really do anything. Especially as he happens to be walking all of his ticks directly into the comm. And with this map, you've got triple metal point here. That's the only one that's actually got 3 points that are very close by. Other ones are a little bit of a walk away from each other, as you see here, 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 here. But this map does have several key features. These metal points that I'm marking now are higher value than the rest on the map. You can see they're actually a strength of 3.6 as opposed to the rest that is 1.9. Getting control of those metal extractors is quite important. You don't want to let your opponent have them for too long. Otherwise, it's well, the equivalent of having half a mechs extra. So it's not the end of the world, but at the same time, it is a substantial benefit if you can keep it and keep hold of it for a long time. Now, unable to get the construction bot, but still doing a good job. Modulo going into these grunts in a 2v1 situation because of how spread out they are. To quickly press shift space, you can see that Jammers is just building grunts. He's now building an extra con as well, whereas Modulo has got a big mix of units, a huge group of pawns, con, pawns, tick, resbot, tick, and so on. We just missed the end of that fight there, but from looking at it, 2 grunts to 1 pawn lost so far. And this map is relatively so slow for expansion, especially having bots. It's going to be pretty hard to really do much. And with the recent grunt changes, having a speed of 87 as opposed to the speed of grunts of 81, it's pretty hard for grunts to keep range. So pawns are pretty strong. You've just got to have a kind of a better quantity Difference is here, though, as well, that, of course, Armada has Centurions, which are good at dealing with both pawns and grunts. So they are very slow. Now, Jawas is making his way down in the middle. And is probably aiming to either build some mech defenses here and then go over here, or is going to aim to go straight down. Now, being Cortex, Jammers does have the ability to build armed metal extractors, which will help. But you can see these grunts here just get absolutely devastated by these pawns, and managing to get that constructor. And these will be enough pawns to push straight through and get this LLT down. How much longer these guys will be able to push is yet to be seen. They are all quite low health. That metal extractor going up does manage to kill one of them as well, leaving only 2 left. These guys don't really have anywhere to go now. But this is sort of the limitation of Cortex bots at the moment. Their grunts aren't as good as they used to be. Oh, and a little bit of a mistake of control here. This pawn does manage to get that metal extractor. It will not get eaten, but the LLT here will get it if it goes any further, and that's a pretty good play by Modulo. Getting quite a lot of damage dealt. The question is, and if we select this, there's 500, almost 600 worth of metal reclaim in the middle. And I was going to see if Modulo is continuing to build more Centurions, but no, it looks like he's just got 1 on each lane. Now, these hills are going to cause problems for radar. And as we select this radar here, you can see it's not really able to see over these bits. There are no further radars to the front. There you go. He's unable to see down this path. So any units sent down this way towards Jammers, Jammers is not going to see them until they literally hit this section of radar there. It's quite a long way for your opponent to be able to get without being spotted. And the same kind of goes for Modulo, but Modulo does have one on this side now. And actually, as we select player view here, you can see that this section of the mountain and path area is not actually visible. That's what these lines indicate, is that there is no radar there. It's a bit hard to see. Let me remove that. There you go. See how it's like crossed? If you're new here, that's a little bit of a tip for you. But sending single Centurions down the line here, Modulo just kind of going for it. Jammers is investing into quite a lot of LLTs in this middle section near the high value metal extractor, but is also getting all of that 600 metal reclaim that Modulo built. Now, Modulo is transitioning over to vehicles here, which makes sense. He's got more metal. The cons are quicker as well, move speed wise, so he will be able to maybe spread out a little bit quicker if he needs to. But he will lose his mobility in terms of this cliffside. If he needs to defend, he's not going to have that anymore. The difficult choice to make between just like more raw damage by building blitzes and tanks, as opposed to keeping that mobility for the high ground. We actually see Jammers here doing the similar sort of thing here, trying to get a vehicle lab up and running as well. He does kind of need the extra damage to deal with these Centurions. He doesn't have a sizable army yet. Not only does the vehicles give you a bit more damage, not that we very often see it, but the amphibious tanks is an option in the vehicle lab. And sending them all the way down and around could cause problems, as, for example, neither player is really expecting a bunch of tanks to just drive up that hill. And they can inflict a lot of damage before you're even aware. And as the Centurion gets surrounded, just see the amount of damage that flanking does. Losing 1 Centurion to 3 grunts is not a very good deal. Java's doing a pretty decent job here at building a massive front line. The problem is that he's built so many LLTs that all it's going to take is like a whistler or a artillery here to just slowly whittle all of that down. And there is already a Whistler here. It's just going to be able to outrange all of those LLTs and just slowly start taking them down and making them completely invalid. Modulo just out of range. And Modulo able to get a bit more economy damage here. Two metal extractors and this Centurion will deal with the LLT, but then will die very shortly afterwards. But still, more hassle for jammers to deal with, having to rebuild these metal extractors again. Does leave 400 metal behind. But when we look at metal a second, is currently advantage only by 5 though for Modulo. And when we look at metal produced though, there is a 1k difference in metal produced towards jammers. He has had the middle metal extractor for far longer, as well as mostly building small units. Army value though is advantage currently Modulo, with the investment into heavy expensive things like Janisses. But both Janisses get killed, leaving only a Whistler. Stout's there also, but that will get killed pretty quickly if it kept chasing, which it does. But this force is not enough here to break into the main base, but it may be able to get some of this expansion here. And Modulo seems to not be chasing either, letting it run into the quadruple LLTs in this position. And not even a single LLT gets destroyed. Does lose a radar, but that's not really that big a deal. And again, this right hand side just keeps getting picked on. More and more grunts, pawns are just making their way down in the intention of just causing more and more hassle to jammers. Getting the con as well. There is a resbolt nearby that can res it. The wreck isn't gone yet, but that's still a bit of a pain in the butt for jammers to deal with. And those units were just kind of like set and forget. And now 500 metal going to Modulo. Surprisingly, no form of units sent in here to slowly whittle down the LLTs here. Modulo quite happy to kind of leave jammers with the 2 higher value metal points. Currently metal produced now is still only about 1,000 difference between the 2 players, but army value is substantially on Modulo's side. It shows how many units jammers has lost so far in this game, and has not been able to secure the reclaim. Not only that, but the big difference between the 2 players as well is that Modulo is rezzing a lot of these wrecks, whereas jammers was eating the metal. Probably one of the reasons why there's such a metal disparity between the 2 players of 1,000. But that is now all unequal. And one of the biggest reasons for that is jammers is yet to expand this way effectively. And also, obviously, keeps losing the metal extractors on the right side. Now, this is a sizable push down on the left-hand side. Jammers Com is not in a great position here. Does Modulo know that he is there? But he doesn't have really that many forces to deal with it. Jammers is sending everything he's got that's just coming out the factory straight over here to try and deal with this push. Now, I'm surprised that... oh, there we go. I was about to say, I'm surprised that Modulo still has a bot lab, but he doesn't. He's now transitioned to 2 vehicle labs. Whereas Jammers is just having a single vehicle lab. A good turnaround, waiting for the units to catch up, the slower Janices. And now Modulo making a bit of a push on this side, as well as making a push for the middle as well. Now Jammers Comp having to get involved here, getting in a single D-gun so far. At the same time, this push along the middle is doing tremendously. Gets a lot of value. It's pushed into a bit of a brick wall now, running up against those tanks in the middle. And the Blue Force of Modulo here, that was a mixture of units, not really able to get any further. But 2k metal now left on that left flank of Jammers. Modulo able to secure the high value metal point and is now clearing his way through the LLT wall that Jammers has built with those tanks. Be able to clear off yet another 3.6 metal extractor here. And Jammers doesn't really have anything he can do about that right now. So at the moment, Modulo with 2 of the better metal extractors, Jammers now with 0. And we can see here Jammers is actually eating all of this 2k. As you can see, the number keeps going up and down, up and down. But how it's changed is Modulo is now 1k metal ahead. And army value is only about 1,000 metal difference between the 2 players at this point. Still very close. Modulo in a stronger position though in general, I would argue. Jammers is a bit exposed on this left-hand side, whereas Modulo is very secure in his positioning here. He has a good 30 units as well as spare units coming down. A couple more blitzes. Middle is looking a bit tenuous. And not only that, but the reclaim field has been relatively controlled by Modulo. About to lose that resbot if he's not careful. Oh, mistakes were made and that resbot gets destroyed. Jammers tries to make a push here, but is unable to succeed. Just actually losing a lot more than he gained. He does manage to kill 2 Janices and 2 Whistlers, but realistically that's not that much. Especially when losing the reclaim field. 1k worth of metal there though, that Modulo is free to reclaim at this point, or res. But Jammer's going for an air lab at this point. He could get a good bombing run off. That could change the tide of this battle. Now the thing is with Modulo going vehicles here, it does limit his movement. If he still had bots positioned here, he could quite easily run along this hill and get round the back. And that would cause Jammers some problems. But the same also goes for Modulo. Jammers could move units around the back of this line here and try and force Modulo to react. But unfortunately for Jammers, Jammers loses their fortified position here, does not go in with his army, it lets it all get destroyed and then just sits there happy to take the reclaimed field. There is no resbots there, so it's just kind of sat there. Good amount of tank fighting though, going on the middle. As these brutes try to make a bit of a dent. Now, Jammer's not really getting anything much from this. With Modulo turning around now, surrounding a big group of the brutes. As 4 of them get killed very quickly, and now just Pounders remain. And these Pounders are going to get killed very, very quickly. But if this is just a delay factor for the bombers that may be coming out from jammers, then who knows? Surprisingly, these pounders have actually managed to work their way straight through the LLT wall and all of the units of Modulo. But Modulo still able to control such a vast wreck field now of 7k worth of metal. Huge, huge quantity. And these 2 tanks and 2 whistlers are now on the flank of Jammers' base, able to hit these energy converters. And surprisingly, only fighters coming out from Jammers, which is not what I expected. Five P1 left. Oh wow. Okay, yeah. Modulo with 5 Tech 1 labs. That is not what I was expecting. And look how much metal he's got as well. He is eating all of this metal. His plan must be surely to just completely overwhelm him with units, which is so far working. Only 4 of them are actively producing. Got the bot lab probably for res bots. Oh, maybe not, as he's gone straight into maces. And you can just see that the sheer quantity of production here. Army value is skyrocketing towards Modulo's favor. He's trying to make use of all of this metal as quick as possible. Bear in mind there was like 7k worth there. Just over 7k. And we can see that army value is almost gone up by that number. But everything has been pumped straight into vehicles. And metal produced now is a huge amount of number difference between the 2 players. Purely from all of that reclaim. What I would love is a like metal reclaimed thing here. But alas, Jammers is really struggling to keep up. Well, the sheer quantity that Modulo is just able to throw in. Although saying that, that was a very strong defense there. Jammer's able to hold fairly easily. Now, there is a big force on this right-hand side that could make an attempt. I think this would probably stop it. But still, these few tanks on the side here will get shut down with relative ease. Yeah, there we go, with all the stouts showing up as well. Those are guaranteed for death. And again, the sheer quantity of units from Modulo able to just completely shut down Jammers' position here. Oh, a single tank does manage to make it into the back of Modulo's base, getting some energy converters. But is it going to be enough to write home about? Probably not. Resbots are already on site, gathering another 5.8k worth of metal. And as this army just continues to roll in, you could really do with a plan here, Jammers. I mean, shurikens are pointless because of the amount of whistlers as he builds shurikens. Unfortunately, unless he micros down all of those whistlers, shurikens are just going to get popped straight away. And the question is how much damage will Modulo get from this? Surprisingly, not quite as much as we were expecting. He's going to pick up some exterior mexes from the base here. But let's just cause some hassle. It wouldn't surprise me if he either self-destructs these units or tries to run them down the left-hand side. Jammers' comm in a potential risky spot here, but you might not even realize Modulo's trying to get a flank on Jammers' comm. D-Gun managing to get 3 tanks so far, 4th, 5th. And now Whistlers are trying to just slowly whittle away. Does Modulo have... He does have radar. But they're not really able to hit their targets. Meanwhile, right outside of the base of Jammers, just consistent amount of forces directly outside. Shurikens are just not going to cut it at all. It's a waste of metal at this point. Need to build up a decent critical enough mass. But also, Jammers' comm is now trapped on this hill. Being in the terrible position he's in, and just look at the swarm of units coming from Modulo. So Jammers makes a play for Modulo's commander with these side forces, and that makes Modulo have to fall back, enabling him to save their commander for now, but losing the metal extractors on this left-hand side yet again. And Jammers in a really, really, really tough spot. The fact there's a radar back here is ridiculous. Oh, but it seems like Jammers has managed to find a hole. How much damage they'll actually be able to inflict is hard to say. There are plenty of stouts, and with all of that production, I don't think they're going to be able to inflict too much damage here. Down to only 4 factories now for Modulo. No Tech 2 from either player as we approach the 25-minute mark. And Modulo in a very, very commanding position. Army value 10k extra metal over their opponent. But these 3 grunts have managed to find... Oh, he's not microing them. They would have been about to find a way in. But Jammers is too busy focused elsewhere. And this shows a prime example of what getting reclaim fields could do for you. He just managed to take so much when it came to the reclaim fields that he was able to basically dictate the game. And losing a big chunk of resources here. Jammers surrounded on all sides. Commander desperately trying to run back, using 1,000 energy a second here. Goes for the D-guns, and this will be the end of Jammers. Getting some great value though, but won't be enough to survive. Down to 13% health. 2% health. Oh, and manages to cloak away with 120 health. That is tremendous. Exactly what Novail said. What a Chad. Gets tremendous amount of value from that. But realistically, is it going to make a significant impact in the outcome here? No. Look at the value here. 42 units of 7k worth of metal to what is 4k worth of metal. And that number is drastically reducing. Unable to get any flanking damage here with the lack of units that Jammers has. Shurikens unable to really do anything here. And the amount of res bots that Modulo has is ridiculous. Like, he's got all these units in the middle here and in the base. He's just kind of taking his time to win this. He doesn't want to throw. The fact that he's got, you know, 6, 7 stouts just coming up to this front position to reinforce, whilst, you know, Jammers is desperately rushing to get units out. And behind him, the 6k worth of metal here just getting eaten up by the res bots of Modulo. Getting eaten as quick as possible. Jammers cannot get any of the reclaim. Just with a single con desperately trying its best. But it's just not enough. But very well played for Jammers, not giving up. Jammers making a one final attempt with bugs on the right-hand side. Will they do enough? Probably not. They could move over the hill here to try and get rid of some of this damage coming in from all of these tanks and split the forces, but he's tried to do that a little bit too late, and they're all going to get wiped out. And look at the quantity of units. Just those units. 68, 13,000 metal in Modulo's army, just heading directly towards Jammers' base. And even then, we see a good chunk of 3,400 worth of metal heading to Jammers' flank, while the rest goes straight into the main base. And that will be all she wrote. Jammers' base will be destroyed here. And there we go, calling the GG. Well, interesting play by Modulo. He definitely had enough metal there multiple times where he could have chosen to go Tech 2, but instead decided to double down on Tech 1. And the sheer quantity of units just overwhelmed Jammers before he was able to do anything. You can see here, both players very close towards the mid-game. And then as soon as that reclaim field hit, Modulo just skyrocketed with metal used. And when we look at active units, you can see around the same time the jump there in active units. And then it just kept going. There was nothing Jammers could do to stop it. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.